Thank you, Tishan. And thank you, Tishan, for all you do and cherish life in the fight for life. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a fight we can win. Are you with me? It's a fight we can win. And it's a fight in which we are clawing back territory that should never have been ceded, but has been. Today, I've got a question. Are you a champion of life or someone who walks past and lets death happen? Given by the fact that you're here, you're probably a champion of life. As Tishan has mentioned, under the current Labor government, since their 2018 legislation passed, allowing for abortion right up to birth, the rate of abortion has increased 58%, despite what the Attorney General said in the Parliament just some weeks ago. The government, since their legislation has passed, has been hiding the truth, not allowing data to be available and statistics, and we are fighting them at every point to get statistics and the facts. But they hold back. The Minister is reluctant to let release information so that the people of Queensland can make their own choices and know what's really happening. Their legislation has opened the door to coercion control of women being forced into unwanted abortions and domestic violence. It's allowed for sex selection abortion with no safeguards in any way. There's no support for women. In fact, the former Health Minister, Minister Miles, now Deputy Premier, reported women's groups that provide support to women and teenagers with unwanted and unexpected pregnancies. Instead of supporting these groups, he reported them to the Office of the Health Ombudsman and made claims against these women's groups that support women. That's the type of man and leader and Deputy Premier and probably the next Premier of Queensland, unless a Conservative government comes in. That's what he actually thinks and believes and what he actually does. And when there was no findings against these groups, he has not apologised. The situation has got worse, not better, for women and babies under this government. If I mention to you some names, Bonnie Barry, Rob Pine, Jackie Trad. You may know of these names because they're members of Parliament in the state Parliament. They have been in the past. They're Labor Party members. And those three led abortion reform in their time. Bonnie Barry tried to introduce a bill, said she would in the lead up to an election. She lost a seat. Rob Pine introduced two bills that we debated and fought and stopped in the Queensland Parliament because good people stood up. Good people like you helped us and gave us the strength to stop those bad pieces of legislation. He put in two bills, they were both voted down, and he lost his seat. You see a pattern? And Jackie Trad introduced the final and third piece of legislation that ultimately passed, sadly, on the Labor Party members' votes. And she lost her seat. It's an interesting thing that those who champion death in this Parliament lose their career. They ended early. There's the irony. It's fitting. You reap what you sow in life. And if life is a blessing, is abortion a curse? Can I contrast that with some fantastic champions of life here today? And I'm just the entree, so I'm going to try not to go too much further. A couple more points that I'll make. But you've got a great banquet here this afternoon. Before I mention some of the great people that are going to follow me, can I mention my wife, Julie? Is that all right? Is it all right for a husband of 35 years to be deeply in love with his wife and think she's amazing? I was recently just thinking about some of the issues going on in our nation and considering the term gentleman and what it really means fundamentally. Apart from a way or a type of life 50 years ago, in the 1950s or so, being a gentleman means a lot. And imagine if every man was a gentleman, how life would be different in our nation. My wife's amazing. She couldn't be here today, first time in a million years, and wild horses wouldn't normally keep her from an event like this. But she's at a baby shower for her first grandchild. And ladies and gentlemen, that's about all that would keep her from coming to something like this. She's come every year that I know that we've been together. Her apology to you today. Amanda Stoker, and just thinking quickly of some of the MPs, an amazing senator, just absolutely in her experience and seniority in Australia, growing amazingly, doing great things, an amazing wife to her husband Adam, and an amazing mum of 3 beautiful young girls. And just amazing to see people like Amanda just championing good things, you know, family values that most Queenslanders support. Matt Canavan, an amazing senator as well, being a minister, a husband, father of a big family. These are great people in our parliaments. And quickly, can I say, there's young ones coming through too, and in the crowd here today, people that will stand on our shoulders, the next generation of politicians coming, and people like Henry Pike and Kate Pike. Where are you, Henry? Put your hand up. People like Henry and Kate Pike coming through in our region, in Redlands, in the Bowman area. And let me say, one other great MP on the stage here today is George Christensen. And I know you all love him. He's a brave man. You know, the saddest thing is he's announced he's retiring. And, you know, I understand, and many of us understand, that standing your ground over many years is not an easy thing to do. And George has been outstanding over all these years. And now he's got his Babies Born Alive piece of legislation. It's a really important piece of legislation to start turning back the tide. Because babies born after failed abortions deserve the same protections as premature babies. They deserve the same protection. In Queensland, we know some of the questions that I've asked in the Parliament. It's so hard to get the facts. They just don't want us to know the facts. 200 babies in a period of 10 years were born alive and left to die in Queensland hospitals. That's terrible. That's draconian. It's barbaric. And we're seeing an increase in late-term abortion. Oh, yes, they all said it wouldn't happen, but it is happening. Can I encourage you to contact, and I could say much more on this topic, but contact your federal member, especially if they're Conservative or LNP, particularly, and ask them to support George's bill in the party room. And finally, the last point I want to make is the volunteer-assisted dying legislation. Sadly, we see a pattern here. Labor members of Parliament, Labor champions of death, and now they're bringing in assisted suicide legislation, probably within weeks introduced to the Parliament. That's why the Australian Labor Party stands for the anti-life party. Life at the start and life at the end. It's cheap and nasty politics. Instead of getting it right and doing things the hard way, instead of, with the thousands that are dying, undignified deaths, because there's no palliative care. There's no palliative care across our state, hardly at all. Wonderful nurses and doctors working in palliative care, just nowhere near enough. Nowhere near the resources that are needed. And the LNP's policy is better end-of-life care through investing in palliative care, like what's happening in New South Wales. And wonderful, massive investment in palliative care instead of investing in death infrastructure. Yes, members of Parliament will still have a conscience vote. Contact your state member of Parliament and tell them that you want them to vote for life. You don't want them to vote for more suicide. And we could talk about suicide rates. More suicide's not the answer to solving suicide. There was petitions, and I think you can still sign them. In conclusion, we should not give up until abortion is rare and until adoption is common. We can win. We must win. Somebody said it this way: all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. So we said another way: all it takes for good to triumph is for good men and women to do something. And today you're doing something. If you don't stand, it said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So stand for life. Thank you.